Okay, I guess we are live. Welcome in Pisoberi as well. Layla, you can start.
All right, Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, I want to welcome everyone to a virtual iftar with Minister Hussein and the Muslim Liberal Caucus, where we will be having an open discussion with the communities, that's you guys, about the new federal budget that's just been released. So, my name is Laila Ahmed, and inshallah, I'll be tonight's moderator. So to begin, let's start with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this session. So I'll invite the reader up.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. And the translation goes, but if one fears from the O you who have believed, decreed upon you is fasting, as it was decreed upon those before you, that you may become righteous. Fasting for a limited number of days, so whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them, then an equal number of days are to be made up. And upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, a ransom as substitute or of feeding a poor person each day. And whoever volunteers excess, it is better for him, but to fast is best for you. If you only knew the month of Ramadan, if you only knew the month of Ramadan is that in which was revealed in the Quran, a guidance for the people and clear proofs of guidance and criterion. So cites the new moon, whoever cites the new moon of the month, let him fast it, and whoever is ill or on a journey, then an equal number of other days. Allah intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship, and wants for you to complete the period and to glorify Allah for that to which He has guided you, and perhaps you will be grateful. Sadaqallah al-Azim.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Khalid. So before we get into the program, I would now like to acknowledge that the proportion of Island, that we now call Canada, has been home since time immemorial to the ancestors of the First Nations, the Métis, and the Inuit peoples. We recognize that this territory, Indigenous rights holders have endured historical oppression and continue to endure inequalities that have largely resulted from the widespread failure of non-Indigenous treaty people to hold up their responsibilities. And we accept that it is our responsibility to acknowledge the territories on which we work, live, and celebrate as a necessary first step toward honoring the original occupants of Turtle Island. So I guess a little bit about MAC. So MAC is an independent, nonpartisan Canadian charitable organization. Our organization is devoted to educational, social, charitable, faith-based, and nonprofit work. MAC is also a national coast-to-coast grassroots organization. It's a positive force for change in our society by promoting engagements of Muslims within the wider society by building bridges and cooperating with other communities and organizations that share our goals and our values. And we also work towards communicating our understanding of Islam as a moderate, balanced, and constructive way of life within our community and beyond. So, alhamdulillah, we serve over 100,000 people annually. We have chapters in about 13 cities. We have 18 centers and mosques, and we have 28 schools all across Canada. We employ over 1,000 people, and we have over 2,500 full-time students and over 10,000 part-time students in our schools. And alhamdulillah, we're very active, very involved in the community. And alhamdulillah, by the grace of God, MAC is also in the process of setting up a COVID vaccination clinic through partnership with the region of PL in the province. And subhanAllah, in the first 2 hours of opening registration, we've received 7,000 appointment requests, which basically fills up the 2-week period that the clinic will be operating. We're really proud to be at the forefront of this action and to be able to offer our ICCO center for these measures aimed at reducing COVID spread, but also for alleviating the burden of health on the region and the province itself. So at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Nabil Sultan for a few words of welcome. So Dr. Nabil Sultan is the site director of the Nephrology Fellowship Training Program at London Health Services through the University of Western Ontario. And Dr. Sultan lives in London, Ontario, and is currently serving as the chairman of the MAC board. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Nabil Sultan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How is everyone doing? Alhamdulillah, inshallah. It's nice to see my friends, Minister Hussein, Mr. Al-Ghabra, Mr. Khalid. It's so nice to see you, Minister Zahid, and Minister Zubairi. It's nice to see you all. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's such a pleasure, actually, to have all of you on one call. I don't know if I've ever had this opportunity to have the entire Muslim caucus on a single call. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the community for you to take time. We all know how busy you are and how many commitments you have. And the fact that you guys are fasting and still awake and concentrating is really appreciated. If you allow me, I'll just say a few words. First, about MAC and its growth. You heard about some of the numbers related to MAC's impact, but really I'm very proud of what MAC has been able to do, particularly in this pandemic. MAC was really able to leverage its network, its grassroots network across the country, and respond immediately to the pandemic from the beginning of the pandemic. With services and programs to serve the Muslim community, but also the wider community as well. So with virtual programming, with social and spiritual services that were offered online, but also things like the food share program that was coast to coast in the country, and blood drives that MAC undertook across the country. Really, I was very, very proud of the amount of work and effort that volunteers and people in MAC did across the country to serve our community at such a difficult time. MAC has also been involved and been engaged with public discourse and public debate on issues that impact and affect the Muslim community, as you guys all know, as the honorable MPs all know. We have the pulse of the Muslim community on these issues, and we feel a responsibility, being the largest grassroots organization, Muslim organization in the country, to bring voice to those concerns and those issues, both in terms of to our elected officials, but also to the media. And that's a role that I would like MAC to continue to play, and it's an important role that MAC sees for itself. I will point to the op-ed that our executive director, Brother Sharafuddin, actually published in the Toronto Star just after the last election in 2019, and it was titled "What Muslims Expect of the Liberal Government in 2020." In that op-ed, I mention it because he tackled a number of issues that the community is looking for the government to move on, and many of those issues are still timely, actually. He discusses the importance of moving on the increase of hate crimes and Islamophobia and the rise of white supremacy and far-right extremist groups, the issue of Bill C-21 in Quebec, the issue of national security agencies and systemic bias within them, and the concerns the community has about a number of issues in the world, in the global stage, where atrocities and violations and oppression were occurring, whether it be against the Uyghurs in China or the Rohingya in Burma, or the Kashmiris in India, or against the Palestinians, abuses against the Palestinians. All of these were issues that the community was very concerned with and wanted to see the Canadian government give voice to and speak out against those atrocities. And it really, I'm really proud of the fact that the government has moved on a number of these issues in a very meaningful way. And I'm proud of the fact that, and we know that it's not to a small part because of your efforts, the efforts of the Muslim Caucus and your advocacy and you representing your constituents in the government that has allowed much of that to occur. And so I think it's very important for the community to appreciate good things that occur and to make sure that we thank our elected officials for them, because there has been a number of important developments on these issues. But as my dear friend, Minister Ahmed Hussein, always tells me, I don't just want to hear good news. I don't want to just hear accolades. I do want to hear your concerns. So in that spirit, as we look into 2021, what is it that the community is concerned about? Especially with the recent budget, I have certainly heard, and the leadership in MAC has certainly heard many concerns from the Muslim community, from other Muslim organizations and charities and boards about a couple issues. The first is being the systemic bias in CRA. As you guys all know, NCCM and the University of Toronto published recently a report highlighting the bias and discrimination and frankly, the systemic Islamophobia that informs much of the audit system that occurs in CRA. And it has come to really to a head where we need to discuss it and make those concerns very clear, that we are concerned about this situation. We understand that much of the current situation finds its roots in the Harper government and the Harper era, where in the 2014 budget, there was clearly a step towards empowering the security agencies to target terrorism and radicalization. And we know that how that was done was unfortunate, and how that was done was biased and Islamophobic, and it has led to systemic discrimination in the system. I think that is becoming very clear. And while we know that it's not the liberal government that is responsible for this, the Muslim community does expect the liberal government to act against this, to do something about it. And I understand that there's always a dynamic between elected officials and bureaucrats and bureaucratic institutions in government. But at some point, I think when there are serious concerns, there is an onus and a responsibility and expectation from the community that the government does take action to address these issues, especially because the community very much appreciates our Prime Minister and how he has consistently spoken out against Islamophobia, how he has consistently supported our community in many situations and in many functions. And we are all aware of that, and we all appreciate that. But there is a growing discrepancy between what we hear from our Prime Minister and the government and what we are seeing in these institutions in terms of systemic discrimination and Islamophobia. And so I think that is an important issue that I wanted to put on your radar, because it is becoming an issue that is of real concern in the community. And beyond the CRA is an issue, but beyond the CRA, there is concerns around systemic discrimination. In several other institutions, there's been reports, as I'm sure you're all aware, against CSIS, against the RCMP, against the CBSA. And so it goes beyond just the CRA. So I wanted to, in recapping my words, in really thanking all of you for your tireless work in public service, your tireless advocacy. We could not have asked for a better group of people to represent our community in the government and in Parliament. We know how tireless you all work for us and for our community and for the broader Canadian society. And we appreciate your efforts. But we also wanted, and I wanted, to communicate some of the concerns that are still exist and that we hope that you'll be able to help us tackle, in 2021 and beyond. And with that, welcome again. Thank you so much for your time. And I really am so happy that you are with us today.
Thank you, Dr. Nabil. I will hop in with Leila every once in a while. It's a great opportunity to be among our dear elected officials. And I'm glad Nabil gave Ramadan glad tidings, giving our MPs the title minister. So that's a good glad tidings. So hopefully we see that soon, without stepping over anyone else. And with this, I think we'll move to the next segment where we.
They are all ministers in my eyes.
Also, yes, part of it, as Minister Hussen enticed us to discuss the budget, but really we want to hear from our dear elected officials, ministers and MPs, really some of the reflections on this time, the message they have for the community. It's a good opportunity. We have access to our membership and to from actually all over Canada, and it was really nice to hear from every one of you. What do you have to share with the community in these blessed times? And we'd love to start with our dear friend and champion here in Mississauga, Minister Al Ghabra, who has a special place in my heart, and we're really happy to see him in this new portfolio. And it's been a fiery portfolio since you started dealing with all these travel issues. So we pray for you, and we pray that Allah guides you to do the best decisions for this country. And we're confident that you are the best choice for us now. So MP Al Ghabra, please, Minister Al Ghabra, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Salam Khalid, Dr. Sultan, Leila, Abdul Salam, Ahmad. It's really nice to see, and so many others that I know are with us that I can't see right now. I just want to say salam to everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. Although I think now the needle has switched closer to Eid than we are from the start of Ramadan. So can I start wishing people Eid Mubarak, but it's too early. So both Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, and Eid Mubarak. Let me say, this is, last Ramadan when we spoke during the pandemic, we set up a few phone calls. We didn't think that a second Ramadan would arrive while still we're going through a pandemic. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Ramadan typically is celebrated with friends and family at mosques, at community centers, at the friends' homes, where we hug each other, where we pray together, where we eat together. And it is unfortunate that we still have to do it, isolated from our loved ones. But I do want to thank everyone for really stepping up. The community has shown tremendous leadership. I know, Khalid, you spoke about this. Leila, you spoke about this. Nabil, you spoke about this. MAC and other Muslim organizations have been leaders in providing an example for all of us on how to look after each other, regardless of one's faith and one's background. And the example of the vaccination that starts tomorrow is a great example. It was open for everyone, and in 2 hours it was fully booked. It just speaks about the leadership role that MAC plays in the community. And that was given testimonial to last Ramadan by the Prime Minister when he sent you and all of your membership and the entire community words of support, greetings, and recognition of the work that you're doing and have been doing and will continue to be doing. I want to say, some of the things that, and inshallah, next Ramadan, we will be able to celebrate it together in person. I want to say how honored I am to serve with my fellow friends and colleagues who are with us here, or some who are not able to make it with us. Minister Hussein, Ikra, Samir Zubairi, Salma Zahid, among others, Minister Mansaf, and Arif, Varani, Ali Ihsasi. I'm going to forget some now, but we have such a richly diverse, competent, committed, passionate group of Muslim caucus that has been working tirelessly to ensure that the voice of the Muslim community, that the unique aspirations and experiences of the Muslim communities are reflected in every discussion that takes around the table. And one of those discussions, by the way, has become a reality today. You know, last January, the Prime Minister announced that we're declaring January 28th as a day of remembrance against or for the Quebec City mosque attack and action against Islamophobia. Today, it was signed by the Governor General. It became official today. So this is a byproduct of the work that you and others have been leading, and you deserve the credit for getting us there. Yes, my colleagues, my friends, and I have had the honor of conveying these aspirations, but you did a lot of the work in advocating for the communities. You also have been the recipient of several Islamophobic vandalism that happened at some of your facilities, and you've been a confident, proud voice, not only in condemning it, but in speaking up for other community members who don't have the means that you do, and raising awareness among policymakers, among media, to say, this is what happens. Sometimes most people don't know about it, but this is what happens, and we need to be united in speaking up against it. So thank you. Thank you for finding ways to bring us together under these unusual circumstances. I am really honored to be with you, to continue to work with you, to continue to work with my friends who are here. Minister Hussein is going to speak a lot about a budget that has a lot of great news for the broader community, including the Muslim community. So thank you for inviting me to be with you today, and Ramadan Mubarak once again.
Thank you, Minister Omar. I mean, we absolutely appreciate your support, and thank you so much for joining us today. Up next, I guess we have Minister Iqra Khalid, who is the MP for Mississauga Erin Mills. And alhamdulillah, I've actually had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of times, and it's been wonderful. So I'll give you the floor here for a few remarks.
Thank you.
As you can tell, everybody's insisting that you're a minister soon, so that's too good.
You know, I can't carry the burden that that my colleagues Ahmed and Omar carry. I'm quite happy where I am right now, and where I am is representing this beautiful riding of Mississauga Erin Mills, that is home to the ICCO. You know, a lot of you are my neighbors and my constituents, and it's really an honor to represent you in the House, and to work very closely with you as a partner to make sure that the needs of our community, that the needs of our constituency are met at the federal level. I remember I was at the drive-through Eid celebrations at the ICCO last year, and the kids, the youth that were volunteering there, so excited, so passionate, so I think longing to have that connection, that celebration, and thank you to MAC and to ICCO for providing them with that opportunity. It was so great to stand there and hand out goodie bags to thousands of people as they were coming through in a drive-through celebration at ICCO. And I hope that we can continue to partner and to find innovative ways as we deal with what is the new normal. I've had the honor and the very humbling experience of working with MAC over the past number of years to listen to the concerns that you raise, to advocate for the concerns that you raise, and I commit that we'll continue to do so. And like my friend Omar said, you know, we didn't expect to be in a a second COVID Ramadan, and nor are we, I think, mentally prepared to have a second COVID, as I like to call it. But these are tough times, and I know that MAC has really been there for the community. I myself am one of those 7,000 people that are registered to get her vaccine at ICCO this coming week. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Myself and my family, I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters-in-law will all be coming in and getting our vaccines, and I'm hopeful that it'll work out. And I'm really thankful to ICCO and to MAC for all of the amazing work that you do in our community, whether it's advocacy, whether it's raising funds for food within our community, partnering with Peel Health to make sure that our community is well supported with the vaccines. I am really, really proud of each and every one of you for your dedication, your passion, and really your commitment to community service. Those are really what the spirit of Ramadan is all about. And I think I'll stop there and say Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing you again at our Eid celebration, hopefully, in whatever form it takes. Jazakallah khair, and an early Eid Mubarak to you as well.
Thank you so much, MP Iqra. I mean, who knows? Maybe I was foreshadowing with the minister. You never know, right? So all right, so up next we have MP Samir Zubairi, and he is the MP for Pierrefonds-Dollard. So I'd like to welcome you up.
Bonjour, c'est un plaisir d'être ici parmi vous. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. Assalamu alaikum. To everybody who's joining in on the panel. Thank you. I know we're going to get to Minister Hussen soon, Ahmed Hussen soon, for bringing us together, and MAC obviously for bringing us together at this important event. And for all of those who are watching right now, for taking time before opening your fast, a few moments, where we gather together and share some words and, have a fairly decent substitute for what we would normally do in our iftars and in our mosques after Isha. This is it. So it's great to be here with everybody. And as Omar mentioned at the top, that a lot of what you want to see happen in government in Canada, a lot of what you want to see happens because of your involvement and because of you raising your voice, speaking up, and being in contact with your elected officials. It's because of all of you that your ideas are able to come forth and that policies are able to reflect what your concerns are. And so it's critical that you continue to remain engaged and continue to encourage others to remain engaged on the issues that you care about. And Omar mentioned that we as a government have recognized January 29th as a day of action against Islamophobia and recognition of what happened in Quebec City when 6 people lost their lives and 19 others were orphaned. We've also moved as a country on the issue of the Uyghurs. And this was an important motion that was passed that had support from all parties. It had support from all parties to recognize that a genocide is in fact occurring towards the Uyghur people. And we have moved as a government on that by bringing forth measures around imports and exports, and also around, naming some individuals, naming sanctions towards some individuals. Now, I don't want to be at a downer, but I do want to say that we have a lot of work to do, and that work that we have to do is done together. And we need all people who are caring about these issues to continue to raise their voices so that we can move forward. But I'll pass the baton to others and hope that we can continue to share in this pleasant occasion. Thank you for organizing, to all you who organized and brought us together.
Merci beaucoup et un grand plaisir que vous êtes parmi nous. Thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to have you with us. And last but not least, we have MP Salma Zahid, and she is the MP for Scarborough Centre.
Thank you, Leila. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Ramadan Kareem. Thanks to Mac for hosting this and being creative and bringing us together. All of us are going through very tough times. Canadians and people across the world are going through very tough times. Last Ramadan, we never thought that again next year we will have to do virtual iftars and will not be able to join for the Eid prayers. For many years, I've been part of the Eid prayers arranged by MAC in downtown Toronto. I have MAC Islamic School in my riding at Scarborough Town Center. Thank you for all the work which you do. Thank you for your leadership. And during these difficult times, last 13 months, many of the MAC members have been on the front lines as doctors, nurses. You have been there for the community, and that's what Canadians are, that we lean on each other, we step up, make sure that we take care of our neighbors. These are very difficult times, and I hope that we can put this pandemic behind us and continue our normal life. But until then, I think the step which you are taking in getting the community vaccinated, I think is a very important task which you have undertaken. And that is the only way to put pandemic behind. Thank you for your encouragement to the community to go and get the vaccine when it is your turn. I think it is really very important. Personally, for me, Ramadan started this year in a very odd way, that in spite of following all the public health measures, we got this virus in our house, either through grocery store or a gas station. We don't know, but all four of us, myself, my husband, and my two sons, we were tested positive. But by the grace of Allah, we have gone through it. We have completed our quarantine, and things are good. So this, but it was a roller coaster. This can be a very deadly for anyone. So I think it is really very important that we take measures. So continue that work to create awareness among the community, and thanks for all your advocacy on the issues important to the Muslim community. I know you have raised about the systemic biases at CRA. We, along with my colleagues, we will continue working to make sure that the voices of the Muslim community is heard in Ottawa. We together work to make sure that we recognize the day to fight Islamophobia, January 29th. I think that's a great example that how we can work together and get the voice heard. So I will continue working with my colleagues and make sure that voices of the community are heard. So continue this important work, and inshallah, I hope and pray that next Ramadan, we would be able to meet in person and celebrate in a normal way. Jazakallah.
This is MP Zahid, MP Salma Zahid. This is a very encouraging words, and we wish you health and shifa, complete shifa, and you're always this energetic Muslim MP who is everywhere. So we wish you all the best. I actually. We won't let it go. Usually the Muslim Caucus iftar is a physical one, and there is actual iftar. So hopefully next year we'll join you guys for this iftar, inshallah. So we look forward to it, and hopefully this is just a filler until we meet. But I just wanted to make a comment here that seeing you all together today, and if every one of you has had initiatives and has every one of you actually in their own capacity have contributed a lot to Canada through their constituencies offices, and through the work they do with their constituencies, but also through your role in the House, and also your roles as ministers or in the different committees. But seeing you all together as what we call now the Liberal Muslim Caucus is actually heartwarming. And we see a team just by definition are actually in a way representative of the interests of the community from one side, but are also representative of the contribution of the Muslim community. So you have this badge, you have this together, and we really have high expectations. And I believe this is why the NCCM advocacy meeting engaged with most of you. around the latest report. And so the community sees you as an important body that advocates for the interest, and the interest of Muslims is the interest of everybody in Canada as well. We want a fair, equitable, diverse, tolerant, happy, actually, Canadian society. So really, it's the interest of everybody, and you're all doing a great job. But I just wanted to highlight that you together is actually a new add to our community. And with this, we're excited to hear Minister Hussen. So I'll leave it to Laila to introduce the minister.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Khalid. I mean, everything that you said, mashallah. So without further ado, I really want to introduce the Honorable Minister Ahmed Hussen, and he is a Canadian lawyer and politician who presently serves as the Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development. He was actually previously the Minister of Immigration, Citizenship, and Refugees. He is a member of the Liberal Party, as you all know, and he has served as the MP of the Toronto area and riding of York South, Weston, since the 2015 federal election. He is the first Somali Canadian to be elected to the House of Commons and the first to hold a federal cabinet position. So without further ado, the Honorable Minister Ahmed Hussen.
Thank you so much, Leila. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining all of you from Toronto, which is the traditional territory of many nations, Indigenous nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And it is such a pleasure to join so many friends and colleagues, and and many that I can't see on the screen, but I know are present for this important get-together. What can I say about MAC that hasn't been said? For me, if I can think of a strong grassroots, connected organization that really embodies the aspirations and the hard work and the generosity of the Muslim Canadian community, it is MAC. And it's always a pleasure to connect with friends. Dr. Nabil Sultan. I was with Abdisalan just recently talking about something completely different, but he was there challenging me, asking me questions, saying, what have you done about this and that? And we had a really good exchange. And to see so many of you today in the blessed month of Ramadan, I want to begin by saying Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to all of you. And as Minister Al-Gabra has said, we're getting closer and closer to Eid. And I know all of our family members and my kids and your kids, if you have them, can't wait for Eid, of course. I agree that this is yet another year that we didn't think we would be connecting virtually. We all thought that by now we would connect in person, but inshallah, hopefully, next Ramadan, we will be able to connect in person. I must say that the Muslim Caucus, my friends and colleagues who you see here, and those who weren't able to make it today, we get together and we talk about the issues that matter to our community, that we hear from them on how they're always pushing us to do more, to do better, to really deal with the injustices, to deal with the aspirations, to connect with the community and always have the pulse of the community. And that's precisely how we got to the official proclamation of January 29. That didn't happen in a vacuum. It didn't happen because of us. It happened because of you and your relentless effort to engage and to guide us to really push for that recognition. And I'm so glad that we're getting together on the day that it became official, on the day that it actually got published in the Canada Gazette for all to see, right? So it is now part and parcel of Canadian history, and it is thanks to you. Muslim Association of Canada, one of the things that inspires me so much about what you do and who you are is that you don't just serve the Muslim Canadian community, you serve everyone. And you do it in such a generous way, organizing food drives, organizing blood drives, doing everything that you can to tackle access for people to the COVID-19 vaccines. All of that is not only making a tangible difference on the ground, you're also, as Khalid said, representing the best of the Canadian Muslim community. to all other Canadians. And I want to really thank you for that, because I know it's not easy. I ran a 200,000 membership organization on a national level, and I know what it's like to constantly go from one part of the country to another, to represent people and try to prioritize one region's interest over another. And I know how hard it must be. But Muslim Association of Canada has been doing this for so many years, as long as I can remember. I remember one of the first public things that I attended as a new young refugee to Canada who had no connections with anybody was a MAC-sponsored event to hear a scholar visiting from the United States. And I remember walking into the event before the lecture and buying some products, connecting with people, looking at some brochures and saying, who's the organization that put all of this together? And I heard MAC. So this is in 1993, and you guys are still going strong. So shukran, jazakallah khair. I want to really turn to the budget. And again, this budget was, it feels so long ago, but it was just, as recently as Monday when it was unveiled, last Monday. It really had two main objectives. One is to continue to help Canadians and deliver assistance to Canadian families, Canadian workers, businesses, the nonprofit sector, students and seniors and youth now, because we're not through the pandemic. We're still dealing with the real negative impacts of this pandemic, economically, socially, health-wise, and so on. So the budget is about continuing to help Canadians now when they need it. The second goal of the budget is to acknowledge that COVID-19 will not be with us forever. And so it's very important for us to also make the necessary investments now to ensure that we have a strong, inclusive, and green economic recovery. And the signs are already there. If you look at the jobs that we lost at the very beginning of the pandemic, almost 80% of those jobs have already come back. Compare that with the United States, only 50% of their jobs have come back. So that tells you that the measures that we've been taking to invest in people really shore up the economy, shore up families and seniors and the nonprofit sector are making a difference. And this budget continues that trend and does that in a big way, while also setting us up for a very strong economic recovery. And one of the pieces that really excite me is something that I saw with respect to investments for youth. We're proposing to invest $5.7 billion to help young Canadians. So helping them with more jobs, helping them with more job placements, helping them with new jobs, helping them with work integrated learning opportunities for post-secondary students, increasing the wage subsidy available for employers to 75%, up to $7,500 per student, and increasing employers' ability to access the work integrated learning opportunity program for students. Doubling the Canada student grant, making that will make a huge difference. For providing an additional $2,600 on average of non-repayable aid to 580,000 students who rely on federal grants and loans, right? Making sure that we are extending disability supports for recipients of student financial assistance. Increasing the Canada Summer Jobs, making sure that we are providing more skills training opportunities for young people. So really interesting investments now to set those students up and young people for a better future. You've heard about the historic investments, proposed investments to set up a Canada-wide system of early learning and childcare. That is not just about reducing fees, although that's a big part of it, but also making sure that we have more spaces, that we have more inclusion for all kids of all backgrounds, and that we have more accessibility, that we provide the capital dollars and the programming dollars to make sure that there is space for kids of all abilities, right? but really providing relief very quickly to parents who are facing very high childcare fees. So delivering an average of a 50% reduction in childcare fees by the end of next year, and bringing that childcare fee down to an average of $10 a day, $10 a day per child by the end of 2025, 2026. That's significant savings back in the pockets of Canadian families. And for those families who are now prevented from accessing early learning and high quality childcare because of high fees, they will be able to get access. So it's not only a good social policy, it'll add billions of dollars to our GDP. It's going to add to our economic productivity. It's going to do a lot to bring in even more tax revenues to provincial and federal government because of more people working. Hundreds of thousands of people will go back to work as a result of this. When it comes to affordable housing, again, this is the 5th consecutive budget where we are making increased additional investments in affordable housing. You've heard about the investments there, $1.5 billion additional to the Rapid Housing Initiative to target rapid housing built in 12 months or less to the most vulnerable in our communities. $600 million more for the Housing Innovation Fund. This is the fund that funds new ways of building rapid housing, new ways of building innovative housing in various communities, including in the nonprofit sector. This is not just accessed by private sector, it's accessed by public sector, including municipalities, but also by the nonprofit sector. So there's a lot of opportunity there. $600 additional million. Huge, huge difference. There's more money dedicated to brought forward from the National Housing Co-Investment Fund, over $1 billion to build deep, deep affordable housing and it is accessible, as I said earlier in my engagements with MAC, it's accessible to all nonprofits, including charities. And last but certainly not least, making sure that the first-time homebuyer incentive continues to work for people who are in markets where housing prices are rising. So places like the Greater Toronto area, the Greater Vancouver area, and so on. Finally, this budget is also trying to get the Government of Canada involved in the social enterprise piece. And I spoke about this. This is where nonprofits use business approach to generate income, to fund social good. So there's more money. There's $50 million to build that capacity for social purpose organizations. And then there's $220 million to enable them to improve the ecosystem and have more grants and shared equity investments between the government and those nonprofits. So those are opportunities that are, of course, available to Muslim Canadian nonprofits, as well as many other groups across the country. And there is a particular emphasis to equity-seeking groups to make sure that they're also represented. So I'll stop there. There's way more that I can talk about, but I just wanted to give you the high-level presentation. I don't want to forget the extra supports for seniors, 10% more payments under the old age security for seniors over the age, and of course more housing dedicated to seniors, to women and children fleeing domestic violence, but also to racialized Canadians, Indigenous peoples, and so on. So I'll end there, but I gotta just end by saying that a lot of the things that we're trying to do, I'm the minister responsible for the National Poverty Reduction Strategy, as well as the efforts towards increasing volunteerism in Canadian society and bringing people together. All of those things we can't do without partnership and leadership and engagement with the nonprofit sector, with the charitable sector. And there is a significant amount of money there in budget 2021 to set up a community services recovery fund, because we recognize that charities and nonprofits are still facing pressures. And we want those charities and nonprofits to continue to work, to continue to survive COVID, to modernize, to recover, to remain resilient, and actually become stronger after COVID. So there's a fund set up, $400 million to invest in core funding core funding to help you with your core funding needs. $400 million, as I said, for charities and nonprofits. And once the budget passes, I will move very quickly to get the necessary authorities to start to flow that money directly to nonprofits and charities, because I know that money is needed now more than ever before. We will go through intermediaries, but there'll also be an opportunity to open it up for other intermediaries if they want to come forward to help us disperse that money. So I'll end there. I'm sure that there may be questions or comments or feedback, but thank you, Muslim Association of Canada, for your leadership. Thank you for caring about our neighbors, our community members, and all Canadians from coast to coast to coast. You exemplify the best that there is, not just of Muslim Canadians, but of all Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
Thank you so much, Minister Hussein, for this very nice summary of the budget and the budget priorities, and how it actually relates to Canadians and Muslim Canadians and the charity and the not-for-profit sector as well. So that's really good. What we want to do next really is actually have a, if you don't mind, have an open discussion.
Sure.
And we open the floor for the members here and for our of people who want to submit questions on YouTube as well is also open to do so. But let's have a follow discussion here with members from the Muslim Association of Canada. And before going, I'll take the first shot here. And you highlighted the priorities, and it was very clear what and why you're trying to prioritize the budget based on. The question usually to change the impact and the results is on the how. So how different, and especially after the pandemic and after all these changes that people have witnessed,
Yes.
there must be some thought on how are we going to disperse these things differently, reach out to different groups. The how is usually the problem to change, actually, to change the status quo. So
that's actually a really good question. If you look at, for example, the $400 million for the charities and nonprofits, we already have a precedent. So in 2020, I worked very hard to get the government to support the charity and nonprofit sector. So there was the setting up of an emergency community support fund to support nonprofits and charities who are helping people now dealing with COVID. So before that $350 million was dispersed, one of the things that I did was I demanded from the intermediaries proactively to provide a roadmap to make sure that there are no gaps in the delivery of that money. And we also delivered the money in stages so that in case any gaps emerged, we could fill them. So and that worked really, really well, because I was able to see both how the receiving organizations and the receiving populations were reflective of Canadian society. And that method really worked well for me, and I intend to do that again for this $400 million fund. The difference, the only thing I would change now is for the intermediaries, I'm going to open it up to allow more people, more organizations who think that they have the capacity and the ability to do this, to come in as intermediaries to help us disperse the money. That's open, so we'll be moving on that as soon as we're able to do that. Well, the budget has to pass first, but
Thank you, Minister Ahmed. So we actually have the chair of Peel Police Services Board. So Ahmed is going to give his thoughts and comments on the topic.
Okay. I forgot to mention social impact bonds. There's a brief mention in the budget that the government will look at and study social impact bonds. So this could be an opportunity for MAC to look at if that's something that you're interested in. The social impact bonds are financial instruments allowing investors to invest in bonds that have positive social impact. Like so, you're investing, you're trying to make a profit, but you're also looking at where those investments are going. Are they going to build housing? Are they going to solve food insecurity and so on? So that's something that that other nonprofits can also look at and other investors. But nothing has happened on that. The budget said we will just look at it. And so that's something that we have to examine very closely. And I would welcome ideas on that as well. Not necessarily now or in the future, inshallah.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Leila. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for making the time to join us today. And I know MP Samir Zuberi, I want to thank you because I know your office solicited input from MAC and the Muslim community that should be considered into the budget. And that was really welcomed. And I think it was a first experience for MAC and other communities to be asked up front, what do you want to see in the budget? So thank you for your leadership on that. Online hate continues to be an ongoing discussion. I know it's, currently it's a very hot topic. There's some movement going on, in the legislature on this topic, I believe. Can you just give us some quick perspective on how the budget is responding to deal with the issue of online hate?
I think Brother Samir would be best placed, I think, to answer this because he's more in touch with Minister Guilbeault on this particular issue. He's been really leading our caucus on this. So Samir, if you have any insights.
Well, that's a great question. And I don't claim to know more than others on this, but we know that our government is committed to addressing online hate, and we are moving forward on that. There's been a very robust conversation in our government around this, and this is a signature piece of legislation that is being intended to be put forth by Minister Guilbeault, who is the Minister of Heritage. So we are very serious about addressing this issue. I don't know if others want to add to this. Salma Ahmed maybe might have more details.
Salma, go ahead.
Yes, I'd love to invite other MPs if they have any comments or thoughts. So please go ahead. Please go ahead, Salma.
Thank you, Jazakallah, Laila. And Samir has said it right. And I'm very pleased that he has taken the leadership as chair of the Muslim Caucus to advocate on this issue. Online hate is really something which we need to tackle. And I think many of us members of parliament from the Muslim Caucus have also faced that. Ikra faced a lot of online hate when she brought forward motion 103. When I started wearing a hijab, I got a lot on online. So I think these are the issues which have directly affected us as members of parliament also. And this is something really very important, and we will continue to make sure that we take appropriate action on that. So
I think part of the mix has to be a good discussion and movement, hopefully on section, I believe it's section 13, the former section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act. So that is something that I know Minister Guilbeault has been engaged on. So I'm very hopeful that he's acting on this and moving forward in a way that tackles this very comprehensively. So
exactly. And just to get back to the online hate piece, this is something that we have prioritized within our government, and we've given a lot of energy to in relation to all the other files and items. So I mean, I think we should expect to see something very soon on this, given the amount of energy that has gone into it.
Thank you so much. I know we have a comment also from Abdulsalam Naqwa, and he is actually Director of Institutions with MAC. So I'll let you give your thoughts and comments here.
Assalamu alaikum, and I guess Ramadan Mubarak and Eid Mubarak. Thank you so much, friends. I know many of the MPs, and we just met with Minister Hussen and another committee with the charitable sector. And there our concerns were more of where the sector really fits in the larger picture and the Canadian economy and how the government view it. And I think that discussion is ongoing and very important discussion, because that's where really MAC exists in the nonprofit sector, and all regulations there impact the work we do immensely. So we are very keen in seeing the government move in creating more space for the nonprofit sector to flourish. We also benefited some of the grants that the government offer. Sometimes become like some of the grants are really designed to be accessible and effective when we get them. The summer jobs is one of them. It's easy to access, easy to follow, and the impact is in the people who use it. But some of the granting systems sometimes are very difficult to access and very difficult to navigate. And so hopefully the new granting system will be more accessible and easier to navigate and easier to get decisions around. We're really very hopeful with the budget and the priorities in the budget. So I think the country is moving in the right direction. And we applaud all the hard work and the ideas that the government next together in one act, the Budget Act or the budget document. And we are very hopeful that the recovery and the rebuild, it will be hopefully more equitable and addresses all the deficiencies that the pandemic had shown up. And so very happy with the work. We hope that this continues and the repositioning of the charitable sector is taken up as a priority for the government.
Absolutely. First of all, I didn't really do justice to the Canada Summer Jobs. Thank you, Abdisalam, for reminding me. Let me read you what we're going to do with this budget for the Canada Summer Jobs. It's actually quite incredible. So to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, we recognize like how important this program is to help young people get that first leg in to the labor market and then really get, first of all, some money, but also really important skills. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the fact that COVID is still ongoing, that the continued temporary flexibilities will continue to the 2021 Canada Summer Jobs cycle. So we're gonna apply that to support more folks. So these flexibilities, just to remind people, include a wage subsidy so that private and public sector employers can receive up to 75% of the provincial or territorial minimum hourly wage for each employee, and also allowing employers to hire young workers on a part-time basis, and an extension to the end date for employment to February 26, 2022. The other thing that I didn't do justice to this is, as announced in the 2020 Fall Economic Statement, there's an additional funding of over $440 million for the Canada Summer Jobs. This will create up to 120,000 job opportunities for young people through Canada Summer Jobs 2021. And these jobs we will be able to start as early as April 26th of this year. And the last date for Canada Summer Jobs 2021 work placement to start is January 15, 2022. And the latest end date for all Canada Summer Jobs is February 26, 2022. So a lot of flexibility, more money, more jobs, more opportunities for young people.
I'd just like to compliment what Ahmed mentioned. And first off, I want to give a shout out to Omar Wiaz and Samir Al-Niz, who I know commented in the YouTube. So I just give them a shout out, and to all the other Montrealers that are present. Essentially, as Ahmed mentioned, this year we actually increased the envelope for Canada Summer Jobs. And Canada Summer Jobs is actually something that grassroots organizations should keep an eye on, because it's something that is, it's an envelope of funding that's given year after year. So for this summer, unfortunately, for those who haven't applied, you won't be able to apply into this summer, but I would keep your eye on the radar for next year to see your Member of Parliament's feeds, to see their advertising for Canada Summer Jobs, which is supposed to go to organizations within ridings. And organizations, it's a very simple application process. you basically are creating a job for a young person between 15 to 25, and your organization puts forth a proposal, and it's evaluated by Service Canada, and they come back with a number for your organizations. So that's one thing to keep an eye on that comes before summer, that one has to apply to before summer in order to have the jobs for young people in summer. A second thing to keep an eye on is what's called the New Horizons program, which is for seniors. So you create programming for seniors. It could be a whole host of different things. It could be in-person activities. Obviously, we're not doing that now. It could be Zoom activities. It could be learning how to use computers, etc. Cooking. It could be a whole host of different stuff. All that to say, the reason why I flagged that is because the New Horizons for seniors is a program that again appears year after year, and then there are one-time sort of grants that are given out for different reasons. So one and you mentioned earlier that you know the application process is somewhat challenging. It's true. There has to be a rigor to it, and one has to put forth their best foot as they apply to these programs. So when doing so, just give time and attention to your application, but definitely do apply. And with each and every application, you get better and better. So the money's out there for groups that want to take benefit of it. It's there for people to apply to and have to utilize to serve Canadians.
Yeah, we actually have one in the horizon, the New Horizons, the seniors. We have one in Edmonton that's running for 2 years.
Excellent.
And we're looking forward to expand it to other chapters as well.
So just you have a model that works exported to other chapters, as you say.
Yeah.
On the issue that Abdisalam brought up, which is on the charitable organizations, our government recognizes that. That's why, like this time, last year was services. This time we're funding core funding. We're providing core funding to nonprofits and charities. That's a call from the sector that they've been making all these months during the pandemic, and we've responded. And I'm really proud that we did that, because I know how much that means to the sector and how it will enable them to be resilient and survive COVID and thrive in the period after.
And just on behalf of the collective that you met with, they think very highly of you, and they see you as a really champion for the sector, and the praises haven't stopped. You left the meeting, but the praises hasn't stopped. So everybody was very happy with you being there, and very looking forward to the engagement, and they see you are the biggest ally we have in a generation, maybe.
Thank you so much, Abdisalam. We all echo this, not just in this sector, so in general. Minister Hussen is one of our champions. And I want to thank also MP Zuberi. We can go actually until Iftar, and we would love to. But I know
to be honest, I like it because it makes me forget the fast, and I'm not hungry when I'm talking to you guys. So it's actually it's working really well.
I'm not sure how much time you have. It seems
actually I may have to go soon.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're right. Yes. I have another meeting.
Yeah. Make a quick comment here, and basically, like we're very honored actually to get this briefing on the budget and the priorities, and actually we come to this meeting in a way to try to engage and build on this, and be your community partners, and reach to communities and places that the government alone might not be able to do, and that's really the one additional piece that my how question was put forward. Basically, how can we build more successful partnerships? Tomorrow, actually on Friday, when we're launching this, it's an example of partnering with health units, with provincial government, and giving service to people who usually can't get the normal service. And so really that's one way to look at things, and your openness and your direct communication really helps, and we hope to put this into action. Similarly, Ahmed's question on hate and Islamophobia. So yes, we see the intent, we see the motions, MP Iqra, and the statement on Islamophobia, but we also want to see this to translate into to not just action, but
Sorry,
actually
laws.
more of a budget item as well.
Yeah.
Like if it becomes a budget, like we have a budget to combat this and a budget to really go behind this and to create committees to really for oversight and to engage. But we see this is happening, and we hope to see more of this as well. I know on the call we had a couple of people who wanted to join, but again, with the limited time, Sarate is our youth director, and you mentioned a few things related to specifically around youth and youth engagement. Also,
Yes.
Rania Al-Hindi, who's also takes another segment of the younger youth and the families as a director on the MAC executive. So we want a commitment from you to continue this discussion.
Oh,
And,
absolutely, absolutely.
Each one of our directors is actually interested in taking this forward. So hopefully
Okay.
we connect with your office after to build on this as well. And again, our doors, our platforms are always open for the Muslim Caucus, for Minister Hussen particularly, to really engage and connect with our communities, and we thank you for this. So without further delay, we really thank you. And if you have any final thoughts?
Yes, I would say I'm always available, as Dr. Nabil Sultan knows. Whenever he calls, I always make myself available. So I think we should have a more in-depth discussion with Muslim Association of Canada, at least for the matters that I'm responsible for. I can also look at what's happening, the latest measures on hate speech and so on. The other thing that I will say is, in terms, I really like your enthusiasm to do more, and I would highlight a number of examples. There's a lot of money and programs within the government, at least in my portfolio, to encourage innovation. So I mentioned, $600 million as part of the Housing Innovation Fund, $600 million additional dollars. That really can give an opportunity to a nonprofit to say, here's one of the innovative solutions for affordable housing across Canada for the most vulnerable, or for families, or for seniors, or for students, right? And the government of Canada will fund that idea. I met a group of young students from Waterloo region who had put together a housing solution in a First Nations community north of Waterloo, where they combined insulation and energy conservation with energy production by putting solar panels at the top of a house that they designed, a housing unit, but also the way the materials they used and the spacing they did between the materials. They were explaining all these engineering issues that led them to not only solve housing challenges in this First Nations community, but actually generate income, because they were able to sell power back to the grid and so on. So these are students who are doing this, but we funded that project through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation Innovation Fund. So that innovation fund that they used will receive an additional $600 million. That's a lot of money for innovation in the housing space. And it can be used by nonprofits, by nonprofit entities, not just by municipalities or others. So I'm really encouraging that. That's the case with housing. There's also innovation funds with the early learning and childcare. There's innovation money with there's the social enterprise capacity building, which is significant. So there's a number of funding streams just within my portfolio that I think can create a lot of interesting synergies with some of the things that MAC may be considering, right? So I'm happy to help in that. My team is happy to help, and we can have a separate sort of presentation on that, where we really go in depth and go into details on that.
Thank you so much, everyone. For joining us today for this amazing discussion. I want to personally thank Minister Ahmed Hussein and Minister Omar, as well as MP Iqra Khalid, MP Samir Zubairi, and MP Salma Zahid. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was so wonderful to hear your thoughts. We do have a few events coming up though with MAC, and so you can always tune into our Facebook or to our YouTube. We have something going on pretty much every night. Fridays is the Mac Youth Show. Tomorrow we have an entrepreneur event show. We have the Daily Show, and on Tuesdays we have the weekly live show on YouTube on Islamic perspectives. There's so much going on across each chapter, so make sure to tune in for that. And as closing, I would like to invite Dr. Nabil Sultan to just do our closing dua, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Jazakumullah khair, everyone. It was very nice to see you all. Subhanakallah bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbik rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Al asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Jazakumullah khair wa assalamu alaykum.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.